So I want to let everyone know that this weekend there is a retreat organized by the Ecumenical Buddhist Society. Maybe I'll share on my Facebook page again on the topic of impermanence, death, dying. What kinds of practices, preparation, that sort of thing that we need to ourselves know. Sort of powa, but not the traditional powa transmission. But I will talk about powa from the perspective of Lojong as well. Remember, one of the points of the 7-point Lojong actually is about powa. So I will talk a little bit about that, focus on that as well. Then the other program is, I've decided that for the first, I think I mentioned this already, but I think the plans are now clearer in my mind. For the first 15 days of the new year, the lunar new year is starting from February 12th. So that's the first day of the new year, Losar. This year, Tibetan Losar and Chinese Losar, Chinese New Year, Vietnamese New Year, is on the same day. February 12th is the beginning of the year of the golden or metal ox cow. And so I've decided that we will do, like Sakadawa, a daily practice, New York time, 8 to 9:30. 8 to 9:30. And it's going to be a practice of the 35 Buddhist purification practice. It's the 35 Buddhist purification practice is a confession practice for bodhisattva downfalls. So those our vows, our bodhisattva vows. So Shantideva, in his other very famous text, which not so many people in the West have studied, called the Compendium of Training, Shiksha Samuccaya. The bodhisattva's entrance into the bodhisattva path, bodhicaya vatara, is the more, in a way, theoretical part, and Shiksha Samuccaya is the more practical part. And so in that book, Shantideva says, for those who are on the bodhisattva path, before you reach the bhumis especially, it is very important to do this purification with regards to us failing to live up to the bodhisattva vow that we have taken. And he particularly recommends this 35 Buddhist confession practice. The 35 Buddhist confession practice is relatively short, actually. But the sadhana that we're using was composed by the 33rd Gongchik JAN, Tenzin Chukyi Lodro. The 33rd, right now, is the 36th. So back in the 33rd, 36 and 37 right now, back in the time of the 33rd Gongchik JAN, Tenzin Chukyi Lodro, he composed a text where the second part of this text is the original 35 Buddhist practice. There's a first part which is very long, but it's very beautiful, long to Western standards, but it's very beautiful in that the first section, he has this part where we're making offerings to these 35 Buddhists. And each of them are described. The color, the name of their Pure Land, their name, of course, their name, the name of their Pure Land, their, very briefly, their qualities, then their appearance, what color, what they hold in their hands. So first you invite them here, then you make offerings to each of them. So that whole section is long. But how we're going to do it is probably we're going to start on the first day of the new year doing that section that is very long. Then the subsequent days we will do the main confession like many times. Do it many times. Then at the very end of the 16 days, because there is a double day in these first 15 days, Tibetan calendar have this peculiar thing where a certain day is repeated twice. So 16 days of practice, and more information will be shared soon. So during this time also like Sakadawa time, we'll do the practice, and then of course I'll also do the explanation. But I'll share the practice text with you sooner. And also I just ordered a set of 35 Buddhist cards. I want to see if it is a good set. If it is a good set, then I will share that link with you and you might be able to order it. I will also scan it if I can and share it with people who don't live in the US and it's hard to order things like this. If you live in the US, if you want, if you can, it's best to order from the source. But let's see what's the quality of. There are at least 3 traditions of how to paint, how to depict these 35 Buddhas. The system in our text that we're using is the most complex one, meaning they each hold different things in their hands and they each have different colors. In the more simple depiction, they all have the same color, which is this golden skin color. Then their hands are different mudras, like this, like this, like this. Just hands in a different mudra. That's the simplest way of depicting them. Then the most complex is the one in our text, where they're actually holding different things. And the color is different. Then the middle one is a hybrid of these two. They have different colors, but some of them hold things in their hands, like a few, just a few out of 35, maybe 6 or 7. Then the rest are mudras. Yeah, so the hybrid second type. So in case, I'm saying this in case you are excited now, you want to go Google. If you look at the different paintings of the different 35 Buddhas, what you want to look for is the system where they all have their skin colors and they're all holding different objects. The easiest is like one of them holds like hands like this on top of his head, and he's holding up either hand like this or like this, like Mount Meru, like a mountain with palace. He's holding like this. And then some holding a sword, some holding branches of a tree, and things like that. Yeah. So that will be for the first 15 days. Then it'll be from 8 to 9:30 each day. Wow, 15 days, 16 really. So we'll, of course, do it on Zoom, then also on stream to live stream Facebook. Then for those of you who are local to Asheville, maybe 1 or 2 people at this point. In fact, this morning, only Laura and me local to Asheville. Oh, Fabiola as well. Yeah, 3 of us. The 3 Stooges just us three left in this group. The rest have achieved rainbow body. Depending on the prediction of the weather, we might do a sung outside, socially distant sung outside somewhere. We'll figure it out. Statement 12, chapter 5. Again, the notes, yeah. The last section of the notes above. Remember that last statement is that when we say the natural state or the original state of the Vajra body, what should we understand by that? Other people say, oh, we are talking about the subtle body, the energetic body, and its properties. So the energetic body has these passageways we call channels, which channels in the sense of where energy moves through passageways. So other people say, when we talk about the Vajra body and the reality of the Vajra body, they say we're talking about really these passageways where the energy moves through, and then these essence life force also move through those channels, and that's what we're talking about. Kilpa Rinpoche says, no, we are talking about the profound wheel. But what is the profound wheel? The profound wheel is non-duality, which is explained as profound emptiness as one aspect of it, and the cause and effect as the other. So anyway, to summarize, it says, Rinjing Chamchut points out that it is not true that directly perceiving channels, winds, and vital essences, so there it's the Tsa, Lung, and Tigle in Tibetan. Directly perceiving the channels, winds, and vital essences make manifest the original state, the natural state of the Vajra body. So that's basically what other people emphasize. When you can see with your mind's eye this subtle body, this energetic body, this Vajra body, with these three elements, that is when they say you can then see the natural state. But Kilpa says, no, that's not when it happens. Instead, it is maintained by Jigten Sumgen that the manifestation of the unchangeable natural state of the three Vajras is the non-duality of all phenomena of samsara and nirvana. Doja Sherab similarly summarizes that this profound wheel, what is this profound wheel? It is non-duality, which he explains as the non-duality of profound emptiness and cause and effect. Then moving on to the next statement, which follows from this statement, he maintained, meaning Kilpa Rinpoche maintained, that some aspects of this original state, this fundamental state, this natural state, Neluk, were hidden by Vajradhara. Now, this is in response to other people claim that the ultimate state of the channels, winds, and drops, which is here called bodhicitta, is as explained in the root scriptures, in the basic scriptures, here referring to the Tantras. So meaning, other people say, in the Tantras, these instructions are very clearly given. And the tantras, exactly describe the way these winds, drops, and channels exist as they are. Kyopa here begins by saying, he maintained that some aspects of the original state were hidden by Vajradhara. And here then, this original state here, in this statement, is referring more to how the way people think about the winds, drops, and channels. So if we were to substitute, we would say, he maintained that some aspects of this winds, channels, winds, and drops were hidden by Vajradhara, meaning not completely discussed in detail in the Tantras. Why? Because in the next statement, not why, but we see that in the next statement he says, actually there are medical texts with even more information. Even more details. So Vajradhara hid it in the Tantras and gave it more detailed in the medical text. We shall see later why that's the case, and basically the way I understand it is because insofar as training in moving energy through those channels, right, and manipulating energy and the movement of energy through those channels, right, insofar as it is geared towards providing the mind with a powerful state that can then realize emptiness and cause and effect, you don't need to know a lot of the details of actually how this system works in terms of maintaining physical health or even mental emotional health. So in that way, you can say Vajradhara did not spend time distracting. The primordial Buddha did not spend time distracting by giving all the different, information, but only giving what is necessary for serving the purpose of freedom from samsara. If your purpose is to have a strong, healthy body, then you look in the medical text. So to me, this take-home lesson is really, I like it a lot, because we can extend that to how we understand like the relationship between science and spirituality. Yeah, in some spiritual religious traditions, they are antagonistic. They say, oh, we are right, science is wrong. Then those who don't accept religion and spirituality, they say science is right, spirituality and religion is primitive. In this system, it's saying there are things that we do in Dharma practice that is in line with what science says. But ultimately, science, right, and technology, as profound as their information and knowledge is, they are not geared towards the transformation of a samsaric being into a Buddha being. So don't conflate and confuse the two. And no need to make the two fight either. To me, this is the larger point of these next two statements. But let's look at the details. Yeah. So Chodra's commentary. Although experienced yogi realized them, to prevent some people from entering into the mandala on their own, Here, entering into the mandala means to get into these practices on their own, and to make it indispensable in the profound Dharma to rely on reading transmission, pith instruction, lineages, and a master. Merely a few aspects of the profound original state have been explained. The majority have been hidden. So Chodra is here going to emphasize that one reason why they are hidden is to prevent a DIY approach to these practices. Do it yourself. Research on the internet these days. Or attend, one course here, one course there, and then you go, I'm going to now make it up on my own and experiment. He says to prevent that, basically. Of course, he doesn't talk about internet here, but you think about it, now it's even way more easy to do what he is criticizing. Because we can have access to so many different systems. Not just all the different lineages within Tibetan Buddhism. And then not just Tibetan Buddhism plus Bonpo. Not just Tibetan Buddhism plus Bonpo plus Indian religions. Not only just Tibetan Buddhism, Bonpo, Indian religions. Now Chinese religion. Then not only that, Amazonian, spirituality, Celtic spirituality, right? You go on the internet, you can find all sorts of things. And there's no end to what we're exposed to now. But for these practices, he says, to prevent that, even if the experienced yogis have realized them, they are not going to. In fact, it says the majority have been hidden. So, a quote, in this Tantra, I have explained in an abbreviated manner the meanings of the signs of all those 84,000 dharmas. The meaning is not disclosed elsewhere. I have hidden the meaning in other Tantras only to be realized by those disciples who respect the Guru. Now, only those disciples who really know how to properly relate to the Guru and venerate the Guru, only they will be able to properly utilize and unlock these information. Or these, not just information, realization. Information is actually very available. But how to use the information necessarily has to come from someone other than yourself, who is properly trained and have, sufficient experience, etc., etc. Then even that, right? Not all gurus have the same capacity. Some gurus have kind of great gift in this area, some this area, some this area, some this area. So also that, not just because someone you consider as your guru, I think it's unrealistic for you to project and say, oh, therefore they know everything. So even in the mundane way, not talking about these like inner body, subtle body stuff, in a more, not mundane, in a more general way, some gurus are very good at explaining things. Some gurus are very good at somehow inspiring people to practice. Some gurus are very good, with pith instructions, and so on and so forth. So I think it's unrealistic to think, like, oh, this one guru can cover all the bases as well. However, it's also the case that you don't go here, go there, go here, go there, and because then in the end you have to put it all together. Yeah. I know that. I mean, like even now, I don't say this to like prevent or to hint to prevent you guys from taking different programs doing different things, you know. I really don't say it in that sense. But know that, you know, I mean, general teachings, general practices, retreat, you know, then probably no issue. Yeah? But then when you get into like these types of things, you know, it's better that you don't you know, do it here, do it there, do it here, do it there, do it here, do it there, because then, you know, when you run into some issues, it's like medicine, you know. If you've been taking all different medicines prescribed by different doctors, and then when there is a counter reaction, right, to the things that you take, and you go to the first doctor you can find, doctor is like, what have you been taking? Oh, I took this, 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 you know. Then I think, you know, the doctor is like, I don't know what to do now, because I didn't prescribe that, you know. So just be a little bit aware, you know. Not the general dharma, the foundational matters, you know, doing practice, no, but this type of thing. Just don't in your interest and excitement to learn more, don't invite trouble into your practice like that. In case there are any, you know, like side thought or question, ooh, I can tell you this is not out of humility. I have no expertise in the intricacies of this topic, winds, drops, channels, energy movement, all of that. If you get to the point where you really want to practice those things, you know, ask me. I will see who I know that I trust and is reliable, and I can direct you that way, and you learn from them. I have no interest in learning about the information, and definitely no inner experience of this matter to be able to instruct on these things. Yeah, I can tell you straight up. Yeah. Information, maybe there's a little bit, but then what is the point of just giving out information? Query: how are these hidden aspects realized? Yeah? So if Vajradhara has, poetically saying hidden, you know, it's not like Vajradhara is going around hiding things, okay? Hidden as in Vajradhara, as in the Buddhists. Here saying Vajradhara is just saying Buddhists, when they teach Vajrayana, then we call them Vajradhara. Yeah? When Buddhists are teaching Vajrayana, giving Vajrayana instructions, giving Vajrayana teachings, then we call them Vajradhara. So this is not like, you know, oh, there is a special being called Vajradhara, he's hiding things. It's just saying that when the awakened one teaches Vajrayana, that time they are Vajradhara. So when they do that, they don't reveal everything. So then now the question is, and so if they don't reveal, how are we to realize what has not been revealed? Reply: those endowed with experience, whether masters or disciples, realize the meaning when they practice. So this is saying no point actually getting information, getting the right instructions at the right point of your development, and putting those instructions into practice. That is how you are going to realize these meanings. Jigten Sumgon got to the heart of the matter of the two stages of the path in the solitude of the Echong cave. So he says, you know, so here is saying, right, at that time on that seat, he purified the bad karma accumulated since time without beginning. Moreover, he mastered all the phenomena of the objects of knowledge in all their abundance and their manifold forms, and also directly clarified all hidden points. So what it's talking about here is, you know, Echong Cave is the place that we say Jigten Sunggun completely realized Buddhahood. Echong Cave. And when did this Echong Cave happen? After Pamodrupa passed away. After Pamodrupa passed away, he was in charge, Jigten Sunggun was in charge of the funeral ceremonies, which is extensive. And then he settled all the affairs there. Then he himself went into retreat. This is a common pattern in early Gagyupa. When the teacher passes away, the disciple took care of everything. Then the disciple goes into retreat. In a sense, to like quickly realize, quickly like focus on the instructions that you have received from the teacher, because that is the living presence of the teacher. Yeah? And so now you don't have the physical teacher to rely on. In a way, you need the inner teacher to become strong and powerful. So they go into retreat, and these early masters go into retreat 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, especially when their teacher passed away. It's sort of a sense of like, now my parents are gone. I better, know how to stand on my own. Of course, Americans, you're from young, you're trained to stand on your own. In Asia, it's like, you're a child until your parents pass away. Then now you're a grown up. So it's sort of in that sense. So he went to this cave called Echong Cave. So here, what Chodra is saying is, of course, Jigten Sunggun got like instructions and information from Pamodrupa. And even after Pamodrupa, he also received teachings from some of Pamodrupa's longer term disciples. He spent only, I think, maybe less than 3 years, maybe even less than 2 years with Pamodrupa. So there are obviously other people in Pamodrupa's community who spend a lot more time with Pamodrupa, like Talong Tangpa, the founder of the Talong Kagyu, was Pamodrupa's closest attendant. So Gilbert Rinpoche, continued to gather information, teachings. But here it said, but he did not get into the heart of the matter of the two stages of the path, meaning the creation stage and the completion stage, until in the solitude of Echong Cave, meaning when he began to practice them, to meditate on them, to use them in his daily training. That is when finally he realized them. So in other words, there's a lot of these details and information given in Vajrayana, but even that, is only a fragment, a fraction of what can be realized. And what can be realized should only be realized through practice, not through theorizing, not through having information. As the Lord said, this Lord, I think, is Jigten Sunggun. After 3 days, yes, this is Jigten Sunggun, according to Sobish, he did the research. After 3 days, on the morning of the 4th day, Dorje Tekpa Ma, that means the Vajra vehicle, Rangnam Zeul De. After 3 days, on the morning of the 4th day, the bad karma of this person, he's talking about himself in the second person, the bad karma of this person, myself, was in itself purified. Here, remember my talk about the right word to use? I think here better to say in itself cleared. You clear your negative karma. You cannot purify your negative karma, You clear your negative karma. So maybe cleared is better. Was in itself cleared. I understood the single vital point of dependent origination of cause and result. I opened the lid of the treasure chest of profound hidden mantra, secret mantra. I purified the grasping of the duality of meditative equipoise and post-meditative state. So now there is no more division into a state of meditative equipoise, samadhi, and post-samadhi. It's become one. I think to myself, am I not a lord of yogis? This is like the deity's pride actualized now, that he can declare, I'm the lord of all yogis. All the hidden meanings are beyond the sphere of the logicians who rely on the superficial, are that which is to be realized by the experienced yogis who have penetrated gnosis, and are that which is worthy of being enjoyed. In other words, like there is the superficial knowledge that we can gain through doing research, receiving a lot of teachings, but the real thing, so to say, right? The real thing is to be realized through our own experience. Let me see. Let me look at one thing. So very soon I can share with you. Let me see. Recently, the translation team has worked on a text Oh yeah, just as I suspected. Give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can pull this up. Yeah, this is kind of exciting. Yes, very auspicious. This morning, last night, our translation team just finished the translation of this text, in which this quote is a section of. This is a song that Jigten Sumgen sang, composed, where he talked about this, his being, how he caught leprosy and was on the verge of death, and then he purified all his negative karma. Then the leprosy left him. Then he became well again, and then became Lord of the Yogis. So this, the entire song is, I would say, this quote here is maybe a fifth of the whole song. So that whole song is really very nice. Now, based on Sobish's translation, we have some, I can see we have some editing we need to do. Yeah, so this is very nice, very auspicious. Notes 512. According to Dorje Sherab, some people claim that the mantra Vajrayana teaches the original state of channels, winds, and bodhicitta completely and in all aspects, revealing the original state as it is. Therefore, such teachings can be found in the authoritative scriptures, like the Kangyo, the Buddha word. Jigten Sumgön, however, maintained that some aspects of the original state were hidden by Vajradhara and thus not mentioned in the Tantras. To prevent unguided entering, the unguided entering of the mandala, says Dorje Sherab, the Tantras were brought into disorder. Authoritative scriptures were twisted, and the pith instructions were concealed. Moreover, some aspects of the original state were hidden to make them dependent on the practice of a person who is the authoritative basis, namely an authentic guru. The commentaries also provide, so this is what we've seen in the commentary of Chudra. Now, Sobish gives more. He says that the commentaries also provide some more interesting remarks. So, for example, the Dorshema states, the general means of practice are not hidden. So the general means, the general principles, the general structure, the general information for doing practice, they're not hidden. We have them. We are taught them already. But some ways in which the result is actualized through practice were hidden without teaching them openly. Meaning they should not be told. Because if they are told, in a way, you rob the practitioner of the power of their own realizing it. So they should not be. So in some ways, for example, like the instructions should not say like, oh, when you meditate, and then at some point you will see this light or you will hear this sound. Because when you do that, right, you are planting this. Then you don't know. Is it an authentic experience or did I make it up because I heard somewhere I should hear this, I should see that? Then there's doubt. Then you are robbed, right? But rather, how to do the practice, that is given, you do it. Then, when you have those experiences, you check in. Then, if the guru has enough experience, the guru may be able to say, oh, yes, or no. The Rinjangma states in the same context, the stages to be practiced were not hidden. So what you do need to know, that's not hidden. That should be taught. But some ways of actualizing the result through practicing the path were hidden without being taught. How it is going to unfold, don't tell. This distinguishes the more general forms and levels of practice, such as knowing what the channels and winds are and how one practices them through the stages of the path of means. From the direct, this distinguishes the more general forms and level of practicing from the direct personal instructions in the actual training of a disciple, which will bring about the actualization of the result. So then there's another category that might be taught but not taught openly, because it is meaningless for someone who has not arrived at a certain point to have access to that kind of information. So it has to be kind of tailored to individual practitioners by skillful and experienced teachers. The success of the latter depends entirely on the guru's authenticity and realization. While, for instance, the Hevajra Tantra in the first chapter mentions names and positions in the body of chakras and channels, teaches their original state, and makes a short statement about the fire at the navel and the process of burning it, it does not mention any detail of the actual method for training in this tummo, this fierce heat. Yeah? So in the Vajra Tantra, it tells you enough information, but how to actually do it, not given. So concealing in that sense. Not like actual hiding, but just not saying beyond that. One might add here that other texts that are not Tantra, such as recorded instructions of Tantric masters, mention the actual methods for training in fierce heat. But even such texts cannot be applied to praxis through mere study. That would be like cooking according to a recipe. No matter how detailed it is, there are many things that can go wrong, completely spoiling the meal. Okay? Of course, these days, like we look at recipes and we do it, But here is saying, if you have never ever tasted that dish before, and even if you follow the recipes, it will be a little. I think this was probably written before people rely on YouTube, that you can actually watch how it is done. In mantra practice, unskillful, blind application of method may cause considerable harm. As Dorje Sherat points out in the context of Vajra Statement 522. So later, it says, mantra is like, mantra not like the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Ami Devari, like secret mantra. In secret mantra, so secret mantra is like the edge of a knife. With the exception of the handle, wherever you hold it, it will cut. So you got to be careful. Unskillful application of the method. You need to avoid that. Dorje Sherat discusses further reasons for hiding the detailed instructions. According to his explanation, Vajradhara did not hide these instructions out of stinginess or other negative intentions. But if he had taught them openly, they would have been trampled on by non-Buddhist opponents. Trampled on. Okay, what this means is trampled on by non-Buddhist opponents. It means like used by those who are unfriendly to the Buddha Dharma to discredit the teachings. And there are many ways to discredit the teachings. One way to discredit is to say, oh, those things, yeah, other people are already doing it. You guys just stole it from the others. Because, yeah, a lot of these techniques and mandalas and all that, it's not unique to Buddha Dharma, actually. There are Hindu systems with things like this. There are Taoist systems with things like this. Yeah. Now, of course, we're not saying, we're not making the assertion like, oh, Buddhist is good, those two are bad. But what we are saying is, sometimes people might look and say, oh, is there, and then have the conclusion, oh, this Vajrayana stuff, it's all just corruption taken from other systems. In that way, trampled. Secondly, some people might think, I am going to understand this, and then shying away from the practice, they will not benefit. I'm not going to understand this, and shying away from the practice, they will not benefit from it. If there's too much information given, and sometimes this information can be discouraging. And you're like, I'm not going to. Maybe I suffer from a little bit of this, So I never had much interest in the subtle body, manipulating energy, having these out of body experiences, In other words, mind-altering things. I have absolutely no interest in. Maybe because I have been exposed prematurely, and I go, I'm not going to understand this, and then shying away from the practice, I will not benefit from them. Thirdly, it's just I can tell you very honestly, never had that kind of curiosity about the mind, like mind altering things. So in college, where people experiment, I experiment once or twice, and then each time it's just like, I don't like this. I don't like my mind not clear. So no interest. So whether it's like with smoking or ingesting substances, or manipulating the energy to have these experiences, I don't have interest. Thirdly, if those with acute faculties, having gained an understanding, enter into such practices at their own pleasure without consulting a guru, it becomes a great disease in which no siddhis are accomplished, and in particular, the higher qualities are spoiled. Even for those who are very sharp. So then, if those, in fact, so not only is it not useful for those who are not so sharp, hear these things and go, oh no, I'm not going to achieve it, so I'm not going to practice them. My case, for all those who are very sharp with their faculties, they have their understanding, then they get into these practices at their own pleasure without consulting the guru. It becomes a great disease in which no siddhis are accomplished. That what you can accomplish becomes spoiled. Therefore, he says, the great compassionate one has hidden the meaning. Don't say too much. Not helpful. But our modern culture is, the more you know, the better it is. I think that is, got to be careful. What we think we should know, need to know. Okay, any questions or comments?
Yes. If I am interested in knowing about that, because I practice yoga and qigong.
Then just practice yoga and qigong.
¿Cómo?
Just practice yoga and qigong.
Yes.
Yeah.
And bueno, shadow yoga practice with the fire, exactly. With the fire internally.
Yes.
Produces, and if I'm interested in that, I write directly to you.
Oh yeah, you don't need to write. I can tell you that I don't, I don't have.
No, it's for somebody to learn more.
No, even that somebody. In this case, your context is yoga and qigong. You should train in yoga and qigong.
Yes.
Yeah, train in yoga and qigong. Don't train in this. Not yet ready. That's what I mean by don't mix up the systems. Training in yoga and qigong to maintain good health, good mind. Very good. Do that.
It's other thing because I notice that when I do my practice yoga, my mind is more settled.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
I look, I find a relationship between my
No,
practice.
no, no, don't. Keep it separate.
No?
Yes. Don't join it together.
Okay. Thank you.
This winds, drops, and channels. Yeah? Not our shamatha has to be so stable.
See, all the day.
Yeah. So if
All the day. All the day.
what?
All the day. The day.
Yes,
All,
absolutely stable. At will, your mind can say stop, and it will stop. Yeah? If you cannot do that, these winds, draws, and channels, as it is meant in the Vajrayana, we should not practice. So connections should not be made.
Dr. Lai?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to listen to this lecture again. There's some things in it I don't understand. But what you just went over, could it be summarized by saying that there are aspects or methods of realization that are not strictly Buddhism, like the winds, channels, and
No, no,
drops?
no. It's not. No, no, no. That's not the point. No.
Okay.
No. The point is simply too much information at the wrong time will derail you. Will cause problems. Especially, it's a very specific context, not just generally speaking, especially when it relates to the subtle body and movement of energy and things like this. That the Tantras have not provided all the information because that needs to come from your practice. And your practice has to be guided by the Guru. Yeah, so whatever, work that you do, Qigong, Tai Chi, they are related, but don't try to use those for this purpose. Yoga can allow your mind to settle better. But when these Salong Tikle practices are done, your mind is already settled. Your mind is already settled. And if your mind is not yet settled, then these you don't practice. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like traditionally, right? Especially like in Gongchik, you won't hear even about these things until you have finished your mantra. Like, what do you mean by finish? Like finish. 100,000 prostrations, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 500,000. Finish the 500,000. Then do a couple of years of retreat in shamatha and vipassana of Mahamudra. Then specific Tsalong Tigle practices are introduced. Then go back and do more of shamatha vipassana of Mahamudra. Then more information on Tsalong and Tigle. Yeah. but these days, and then I don't know, you hear people say, I'm not talking about, again, Qigong, Tai Chi, those are good for maintaining health, mental, emotional health, physical health. But mental, emotional, physical health is not necessarily what Dharma is interested in. I know this is kind of shocking to those of us in the West. We think, oh, yoga must be about, good health must be about Buddhism. Gosh, look at the way Milarepa live, You think that is a good diet? No, that's a terrible diet from the perspective of diet. But Milarepa could care less. But we cannot follow that path, We're not ready. We're not tough enough to do what Milarepa did. I think I told the story before, maybe. One time, this Rinpoche, he is very, very much, he emphasizes, like being a vegetarian. He emphasized very strongly, Druan Rinpoche. So then, in one of the question and answer, one person said, I have like type 2 diabetes, like I have to eat meat, And Rinpoche's answer, he was like, oh, then better to die. Yeah, like it shocked people, And if we say this like publicly, it will shock people. Like, how can, the Rinpoche say that, But it's true what he said, but does that mean, you should do that? Nah, I don't think so. Well, I won't. But my point is that, that the Dharma context, we think, and yes, we think and we hope that we can integrate Dharma into everything. And that is ultimately what we're aiming for, because as Buddhas, everything we do is in harmony with Dharma, as in harmony with the way things are. But right now, in our state of being confused, if we are not more careful in carving out a clear space, this is Dharma, these are other things that potentially could support the Dharma, but they are not the same thing. If we don't keep that clear, it's easy that when we think we're integrating Dharma into everything, we are distorting Dharma with everything. So whether it's like healthy, good practices of exercise, Qigong, that, or some people, social activism, politics, right? Yeah, some people feel like the Dharma needs to be infuse our political activity, our social activity. Yes, in the broader sense, of course. But in the limited place that we are at, where we are still very limited, we're still very easily distracted from what Dharma is saying, mixing those two can very easily cause us to lose what the Dharma's viewpoint is. So better to just kind of not make those connections prematurely. Then when those connections arise more naturally, then that's different. That means the Dharma is starting to change what's around you. rather than you changing Dharma, you know. Those two can happen so easily and you don't even know what is actually going on. Whether the Dharma arising in your experience, changing the way you experience things, or experiences is changing your understanding of Dharma and distorting. Easy to confuse those two. Yeah, so this last statement, you know, it's the key is not about other religions or no. I'm talking about the limits of knowledge. That the true knowledge should only arise, can only arise from applying the methods that are given, and let the methods do the work. And when the methods are applied to do the work, then whatever comes up, that's where true knowledge can begin to form there. And that's why that even in the authentic sources, as we would say, in the Tantras and all that, their descriptions are not complete, and deliberately they are not complete. And if they're not complete there, also by implication, that means, right, whatever you can find more information about, even if it seems related, it's not useful. Right? I mean, Vajradhara has a reason how much to tell and how much not to tell. And if you try to get more information than what Vajradhara has deemed to be helpful to tell and not helpful to tell, then you're on your own. Then you're on your own. Then, you know, it's this thing, you know. The higher qualities are spoiled. They are poisoned. So like 513 is like a side point. Medicine teaches some of the things, some of the ways things are. So in fact, the medical knowledge, he says, you know, sometimes and some functions more profoundly. So this is that point that I said, you know, in a broader context, we can say, you know, modern science, scientific discoveries will teach like atomic theory, you know. Dalai Lama says, you know, modern science analysis of physical matter is very precise, profound, convincing, that in a way, you know, Buddhist analysis of matter is primitive compared to what modern science is discovering. But insofar as the work of attaining Buddha is concerned, the primitive model given, the primitive set of information given in the Buddhist text about materiality, analysis of material world, is sufficient. Dalai Lama likes to say that. He says, you know, in the modern science analysis of matter, definitely, you know, exceeds what the Buddhist tradition has done. But here in this context, I would say, Kyoba would say, but in as far as the work of achieving Buddha, then whatever has been given is enough. Then back to 14 is therefore. To me, 14 is therefore, what you learn in 13, what you learn in 12, what you learn in 11, what you learn there, right, is that what is profound for others is not profound for us. What is not profound for others is profound for us. That's the statement 14. People claim that the pith instructions of the channels and winds are more profound than the 3 vows and so forth. He said, no. The statements before 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13, you can say, they address aspects of completion stage practice, because the subtle body practice is part of completion stage. Then statements 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, they pertain to the creation stage or the generation stage. So again, statement 5 to 10. The immediate context is creation stage or generation stage practices. So when they say rituals, they're not talking about, like sang offering, or whatever rituals that people do. They're not talking about rituals generally. They're talking about the steps in the creation or generation stage. Then statement 11, 12, 13, they're talking about completion stage. Some of the matters, key things in completion stage. And then statement 1 to 5. Statement 1 to 4 is generally about mantrayana or vajrayana and empowerment. 1 to 4 is about the initiatory criterion that is needed. How you need to be initiated, how you need to be empowered, what is the meaning of empowerment, 1 to 4. Then once you have received empowerment, what do? You practice creation and completion. So then statements 5 to 10 is creation, 11 to 13 is completion, 14 is kind of like that point about 14 and 15 is about the relationship between the so-called profound instructions and the so-called not so profound instructions. The role of these instructions. Statement 16 is about how to measure our experiences, our realizations. How do we know this is a correct realization or not? 16, 17 deal with that topic, and 18 as well. Then 19 is about meditative states within this the context of Vajra. 19 is talking. 19 is really, really long in terms of Sobish's discussion and commentary. Yeah. Anyway. Good. So next time we are going to look at statement 13. Changchu Semcho Rinpoche Mage Banam Ge Gyurche Ge Banyam Ba Me Baya Gong Ne Gong Du Bel War Shu. Okay, ta everybody.
Thank you. Ciao for now.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Happy Monday.
Thank you.